Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the absolute, you have the deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders. How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for my overview of the DCeased Omnibus from DC Comics. So, let's find out what this creepy story is all about. And welcome back, everybody. So what we are looking at today is the latest DC Omnibus release, and it is the Tom Taylor DCeased Omnibus. And on the front cover here by Ben Oliver, we have the Trinity of DC Comics. But what exactly is going on? They look like the vampire, zombified, or Night of the Living Dead type of version of these characters of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Well, we will find out together here in a second. The Elseworld logo, which is another thing to keep in mind. And the Tom Taylor DCeased Omnibus, the DC Bullet logo, and then the back of the book. The beginning of the end. A little bit about the book, what's collected in here, and the ISBN and retail price. The book itself retails for $125. Back here we have that art on board by none other than David Finch. And here we have some covers of the Red Hood against this Joker. And whoa, Wonder Woman, what is going on there? And then the spine of the book this time. I like that it's different. They're using a different picture. Instead of Batman, they're using Joker there. And then the back of the book with these villains right here. Alright, I am going to open this book up. We're going to talk about the premise, what the stories are about, and show off this artwork, and look at the extras in the back, and then, of course, look at the build of the book. Alright, let's go ahead and get this omnibus open. We have this red blood splattering there, like bloodstains kind of design, and pattern is continuing here with the title page, DCeased, and here are the credits. Tom Taylor writing the majority of, actually all the book, and then all of these different artists like Trevor Hairsine and Laura Braga and Neil Edwards and Richard Friend and Renato Guedes and James Herron and Carl Mostert, who has a beautiful tribute in the introduction here. The colors by Rain Beredo and Rex Locus, bringing it all together, and Seda Temofonte doing the lettering here. And table of contents right here, and rest assured, page numbers. They are in there. There is an introduction, and then you have what is collected when it originally was published, and the reading order here, how they are doing it. And one thing you'll notice, it goes from 2019 all the way to 2023 with the War of the Undead Gods. And you'll notice that it'll go to 2020 and then the next series. So I think this right here, the series of Hope at World's End, was somewhere in between both of these right here. It was happening at the same time that they were doing the Dead Planet. But we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. Here is your introduction by Tom Taylor, talking about how he wasn't the biggest horror fan, and so when he was approached to do this particular series, he found it to be a challenge and had a blast with it. And then, of course, a beautiful, beautiful tribute to Carl Mostert, who passed away last year, who was a phenomenal artist and did the artwork for the Unkillables, which to me is my favorite series out of all of this. So collected in here is DCeased 1 through 6, DCeased A Good Day to Die one shot, DCeased Dead Planet 1 through 7, the DCeased Unkillables 1 through 3, DCeased Hope at World's End 1 through 15, and DCeased War of the Undead Gods 1 through 8. The book has 1,040 pages and retails again for $125. And I want to make sure I didn't miss any pages there. Spoilers for the pitch. Even though this is an Elseworld story, meaning that it's out of continuity, I still have to talk about the pitch, and the pitch reveals a lot of deaths and kind of like the premise behind this, what exactly is going on. And I promise I won't reveal every death or how exactly it happened, but I do have to talk about some important key elements that makes this such an amazing story. All right, so it starts off with the Justice League, who look very much like the New 52 version, including the way Darkseid's designed is like, even though Darkseid is a character that there's only just one Darkseid across the multiverse. Anyway, he decides to go back to Apokolips after fighting the Justice League, and then the Justice League realizes, wait a second, where the hell is Cyborg? Huh? I think he's missing. And sure enough, he is missing. By the way, you have Trevor Hairsine doing the art through here, and then the flashbacks are done by other folks. But it's really cool because I think it really fits the tone of the story that we're going to go for. So, Darkseid has kidnapped Cyborg, and along with the SAD, he is trying to retrieve information about the anti-life equation, which is something that he has been trying to get for decades, right? But he believes that the information, the last part of this information, is inside of Cyborg, in his body. However, unbeknownst to him, to get this information, there is almost like a anti-life equation virus, and it's become corrupted, and it kind of works like a if you remember like the Phalanx Covenant, it kind of works a little bit like that transforms people infected into zombie-like creatures, almost like the anti-living, because they go after anything that is living because they're part of the anti-life equation. And one of these characters they immediately take over is that of Darkseid, and Darkseid ends up destroying Apokolips, and of course the SAD is left to the side because, well, he can't really die. Now, what ends up happening to Cyborg? Well, Cyborg is transported by the SAD to Earth again. And just a reminder that this is not taking place in the main universe. This is an Elseworld tale. So Cyborg is here, and you find out how the virus is being transferred. It's being transferred through electronic devices like smartphones, televisions, things like that. So also by blood. If the blood touches you in some kind of way, then you will also become one of these blights, as they're called later on. So not quite zombies, not quite vampires. I mean, they are kind of like zombies. Let's just call them what they are. But what they start referring to them as are blights. So Superman hears all of this, and he's like, oh my gosh, people are being infected. What is going on? So he flies home as soon as Jonathan Kent is about to pick up his phone, because this is how the anti-life equation is spreading. This is how the virus is getting around. Phones, televisions, anything. Superman puts a stop to this. Of course, Batman is way ahead of the game, sitting in his Batcave and talking to his computer. Not connected, right? Like not via the internet like everybody else through the cloud, but he's talking about how Gotham has been just infected, and he's asking exactly how many people are we talking about. And the computer is saying an estimated 600 million worldwide. So not just Gotham, this is the entire world. And has connection been disabled in the house? No. Damn it. That there's so many amazing badass moments through here. So Superman and Lois and Damian, who is hanging out with his buddy Jonathan here, are all in Metropolis while Bruce is looking for his friends. And who has become infected? Unfortunately, Dick Grayson and Tim Drake have been infected. And remember what I said about it spreading through blood? And that's exactly what's happening here. They end up giving this virus to Batman. And what does that mean? So we'll come back to this. I'm just going to give you the pitch, like talk about like the first maybe two and a half issues, and then talk about what the rest of the series is like. So the entire world is becoming part of this blight. The virus is now affecting everybody, including places you didn't think it was going to go. I mean, especially if you're like in Atlantis, like Aquaman's people. How safe are they? Well, when blood is also part of the process, ain't nobody really safe at all. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy have a team up against the Joker and the Birds of Prey through here. This is one of my favorite moments, is when Green Arrow and Green Lantern, along with Black Canary, are just out camping, right? So you're like, okay, No problem here. Nobody's got devices. They're all camping. Well, Hal goes to his tent and it's like, well, I'm out for the night. And what does he do? He turns on his phone and immediately, bam, turns into a blight. The Green Lantern of Sector 2814, lethal force is not sanctioned. So this is, again, taking place in another universe, right? Because after Sinestro Corps, we know that the Guardians gave them the ability to kill, but not in this universe. So Superman goes to his daily planet where he's trying to find his friends, and what's happening there? The entire building has been taken over, and he is just lost. He has no idea how to stop this. And Hal Jordan, unfortunately, has been taken over and becomes one of these zombified creatures, and Dinah ends up killing him, and she gets picked to become a new Green Lantern. I love that. That is so cool that she becomes the new Green Lantern after, unfortunately, Hal Jordan dies. So Superman recruits her to join his team of superheroes that are going to put a stop to this. Like, Superman has a connection with Batman. Batman is wearing Mr. Freeze's outfit because he's trying to slow down the metabolism, which is, of course, decelerating the spread of the virus that's living within him. So he is so ahead of the game that he thinks about that. So this is where Bruce tells Clark, what to do, how to stop it. But is there a cure? There's no talk of cure. There's just a way of stopping it. And sure enough, Alfred has to make decisions. There's a beautiful moment here when he's talking to Damian and what he's leaving him behind, what Alfred brings him. This absolutely, like, real human moments. And what Alfred has to do, oh man, it gets dark. Where is Wonder Woman? Don't worry, she joins in the fight. And this is Harley Quinn against the Birds of Prey here that are all zombified. And it is just one big, huge fight to try to survive against these creatures. And nobody, and I mean nobody, is safe. If blood is helping it spread, if technology, which they can't put a stop to, right, is helping it spread, it's already reached all these people. And what happens when characters like one of the Speedster catches it? That means everybody can get infected if blood is involved. And it's just a unique take on the zombie type of stories that you're probably used to. I don't want to go too much further into spoilers, but there's a lot of twists and turns that happen here. Not everybody makes it out alive, and let's just say, Tom Taylor has a lot of fun with this, and it's a freaking page turner, and that's what I enjoy about these type of stories. It's one that you don't want to put down because you do want to see who lives, who dies, and what ends up happening to your favorite heroes, right? You have, like, Project Cadmus is involved, you have Keystone City, you're in Gotham City, you're in Metropolis, and then you have a lot of characters that show up later on to lend a hand. And then the outcome of this is a unique outcome. Now, what happens in between issues 5 and 6 is we have this one-shot that features the team-up of Ted Cord and Booster Gold, and Big Barda, and Mr. Terrific, and Mr. Miracle. This is a really cool one-shot that perfectly fits in between the 5th and final issue of the first miniseries, because this answers the questions of, wait, why don't we do this and fix everything? Well, we can't. What about this? Can't do that. Oh, there are things that you're probably asking, well, that's an easy fix. And I was doing the same thing. And as you're reading this, you're like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And yes, John Constantine gets involved in this particular story too. Now, all the way past this issue, when we get past issue number 6, we go to the first miniseries, and I want to talk about that. And this is the Unkillables right here. The Unkillables happens to be my favorite, like, little miniseries. It is just Deathstroke encountering a bunch of these infected neo-Nazis and fighting them off and not realizing what exactly they are, and then the entire world going to crap. The really cool thing about this story is that it's taking place at the same time the main story arc is taking place. So you can read that and then come here and try to figure out where exactly this is taking place or when. For example, you have Jason Todd, the Red Hood, go to the Batcave, and he's looking for Batman. He's looking for Alfred. But instead, he finds his dead friends, and he has Ace there. So he takes Ace with him. And Eventually, they'll find other survivors in Gotham. He'll use the computer to find other survivors, such as Commissioner Gordon and such as Cassandra Cain Batgirl. Now, the really cool part about this is that this is the villain's version of fighting back. So here you go. Vandal Savage has gathered these villains. You have Captain Cold, you've got Lady Shiva, Bane, Deadshot, Solomon Grundy, the Creeper, and... did I say Cheetah? I think I may have said Cheetah. Yes, these characters right here are the ones that are going to fight back along with the Gotham crew together and try to fight off against this army of zombies. And oh, there's a wonderful moment in issue number 2. I don't want to spoil where they end up and who they end up rescuing. So I'll just move on to the next series here. And this is the Hope at World's End. This is a very unique series because it's kind of like an anthology series that is very loosely connected to the main storylines, but it's a lot of fun. Like, the very first issue is all about Jimmy Olsen, like focusing on the character of Jimmy Olsen and how he got to survive along with the people on... you remember when we saw the Daily Planet, and then what ended up happening. So we get to see like that perspective. We get to see Black Adam dealing with things in Kandak and other characters in here. Again, this is taking place while the main series is taking place, and I don't want to give away exactly when because it might spoil things. Just like the next 2 follow-ups, which are sequels, not really mini-series to DCeased. So I'm just going to go ahead and say spoiler to the follow-up series right here. This is Dead Planet. And Dead Planet works like a direct sequel. 5 years have passed since the events of DCeased, and characters are about to be reunited. I don't want to say what separated them, but I just want to kind of skim through here and show you what this art... again, Trevor Hairsine just killing it. I think he's the perfect artist when it comes to this type of story because he's got, like, you know, rough around the edges, very sketchy, and it just fits the stories. So characters are going to be reunited, and in this follow-up set, again 5 years later, there are characters that are also going to be killed off that survived the first wave. And you're like, oh damn, that's not fair. But this one also brings you hope because there might be a chance to restore some things, not everything. And this is the story that gives you hope. This wasn't planned. It's really interesting when you read the foreword by Tom Taylor that he had an ending and then he was like, well, I'll just leave it open in case I want to come back and tell a story. And that's exactly what this is. He left it open for something like this. Now, the last story arc that's collected in here, the main man right there, is the War of the Undead Gods. All of this started really because of Darkseid in the Fourth World. So this is the undead gods coming to Earth after this big thing that happened with Darkseid and destroying Apocalypse. So where exactly is Darkseid? Did he really die? Did all the gods die? This is a really cool way to start the series because it starts off as a flashback with Krypton and Supergirl as Brainiac is destroying Krypton, and Supergirl sent off to live in New Genesis. And that's when we get the new gods that have been infected. So I thought this was such a cool way to introduce this story. Now, we don't focus, of course, on Krypton, because the same thing still happens, but where exactly is Darkseid, and who are our characters, and what about that hope that we were given in the follow-up series, the Dead Planet? So that's what this is. This is a wrap-up of everything. This is everything coming together for this big fight, and heroes joining forces with some of the villains, of course, and who lives, who dies, and again, taking place in a different universe. So Tom Taylor and everybody else can just have fun with this. Now, in the back, let's look at the back matter. I'm not exaggerating. All of this is variant covers and concept sketches. And there are a lot of variant covers, a lot of homage variant covers, which if you're a fan of horror movies like Nightmare on Elm Street here or Final Destination, it's just really cool to see them have fun with the series. And of course, like I tell people, you know, when it comes to variant covers, it's an awesome homage cover. It doesn't necessarily mean that what you're seeing on the cover took place inside of the comic book. Variant covers, they just go wild. Some of the characters you're gonna... Whoa. is it just me, or is that just a really, really attractive Wonder Woman? It can't just be me. It's not me, right? The hell's wrong with me? Anyway, it's just artists having fun on the covers. Just having a blast drawing different versions, like zombified versions of these characters, who some of them don't even turn into zombies. They're just having fun drawing them as zombies, which when you're on cover, that's awesome. When you're on cover duty, I mean, that's what you want to do, right? Like, you want to have fun drawing these covers. That's a really awesome one, too, to take on the movie. Those are movie type posters. That's the Jim Lee homage. I'm sorry, it's an homage by Dan Mora to the Jim Lee X-Men #1. Yeah, there's lots of homage covers here to classic horror movie posters, but also covers to DC Comics. That's really freaking cool. And a ton. I'm not going to go through all of them. There is a ton of just covers. My gosh. This right here is the original DCeased pitch and series outline by Tom Taylor. And then, of course, the thumbnails and layouts here. I love that this stuff is added. And DCeased A Good Day to Die. Character studies by Laura Braga. And Carl Mostert's sketchbook here from Unkillables. Love the designs that he gave the characters. Promotional art, and then the bio on Tom Taylor. All right, let's look at the binding. 1,040 pages. It is sewn binding, and we do have some thick paper stock. It's not as thick as it used to be, so there's just a little bit of bleed through happening, but it's the glossy paper stock that maybe I've missed, because they've been using that satin paper for the last almost a year. Up until a couple months ago, they went back to glossy paper stock. So I'm glad they're using this type of paper stock here. I think the colors really, really, really pop when they are using this type of paper stock. But that is it. 1,040 pages, DCeased Omnibus. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. In the comments down below, let me know if you have it in standard size hardcover, if you picked up the deluxe edition, or if you have the trade paperbacks, or if you're going into this completely blind and you're just a fan of Tom Taylor or just zombie type of stories, even though these really aren't zombies, right? Like, they're blights. But anyway, leave those comments down below, smash that like button on the way out. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.